The burden of unlimited options. You open a dashboard with 20 filters, 5 tabs, and a customize button, and somehow the simplest task now needs a meeting, a checklist, and 3 approvals. The menu got bigger, but your day got smaller.
More choice often feels less free because the system quietly turns options into obligations. Compare more, justify more, decide more often, and carry the risk alone. Abundance doesn't just expand possibility, it expands the amount of attention required to keep up.
When choices multiply, the experience changes. It stops being "I can choose" and becomes "I must choose," repeatedly, under time pressure, with incomplete information. The burden isn't the existence of options, it's the ongoing work of evaluation: what to pick, what to ignore, what to regret, and what to defend later. Intent is not impact. Look at the mechanics. In many digital and organizational systems, offering more options is rewarded. A team that adds more settings, more tiers, more pathways can claim it is serving everyone. A marketplace that lists more items can claim it has something for you. A manager who says it's your call can claim to be empowering. The incentive is clear. More options signal responsiveness without requiring deep commitment to any single path. But there is a constraint that never goes away. Attention and time are finite. The system cannot expand your day. So the extra work created by abundance has to land somewhere. And it often lands on the individual. The worker configuring tools, the parent comparing plans, the customer reading fine print, the student mapping pathways, the patient navigating portals. Choice is offered on the surface, while the labor of making sense of it is privatized. There's also a feedback loop. The more choices a system provides, the more it collects data on what people click, skip, and abandon. That data becomes justification for more segmentation, more personalization, more micro-decisions. The system learns to keep you deciding because your decisions are valuable signals. The system benefits from your deliberations. You bear the cognitive cost. Consider who wins and who pays. The provider benefits because optionality reduces accountability. If an outcome is bad, it can be framed as a user preference issue rather than a design issue. Optionality also increases conversion and retention. People stay longer when they are still comparing, still tweaking, still hoping the next setting will feel right. Meanwhile, the person living inside the choices pays in fatigue, second-guessing, and the quiet sense that any failure is personal because you picked it. The trade-off is real: flexibility versus clarity. Unlimited options can serve edge cases and diverse needs, but they also dissolve shared standards and shared expectations. When every workflow is customizable, coordination costs rise. When every plan has exceptions, trust requires more documentation. When every decision is reversible, commitment becomes harder to form. Choice without structure can reduce friction at the point of purchase, then increase friction everywhere else. So the loss of freedom isn't mysterious. It's a system-level reallocation of responsibility. Institutions and products gain the appearance of serving you, while you inherit the constant overhead of deciding and defending. A system that scales must also account. This matters because agency is not just the ability to select from a list. Agency is the ability to act with coherence and dignity in the time you have. When choice becomes endless, attention gets trained towards scanning, comparing, and optimizing. The self becomes a manager of inputs rather than a person living a life. Dignity erodes in subtle ways. If every interaction is a menu, you are treated as a bundle of preferences to be extracted and served, not as someone whose time is respected. If every outcome is framed as your selection, responsibility is individualized, even when constraints were hidden. The default settings, the dark corners of fine print, the way recommended nudges you, the way later becomes never. Your consent becomes procedural. Click, accept, continue, while the real decision is buried in complexity. Relationships feel it too. Abundance can make us harder to satisfy and slower to commit. If there is always another option, another tool, another plan, another arrangement, then people and communities can be held at arm's length, evaluated like products. Optimization pursued without reflection erodes meaning. The question shifts from, is this good and sufficient, to is this the best possible? And best becomes a moving target that consumes attention. And responsibility becomes ambiguous. When everything is customizable, no one can say what is normal, what is enough, what is safe. Standards are replaced by settings. The person at the end of the chain is left to make sense of it, often without access to expertise, time, or margin. That is not freedom. It is exposure. Notice where your week contains choices that do not feel like power, but like paperwork. The repeated prompts, the setting screens, the comparison tables, the just pick one moments that arrive when you are already tired. Consider what is being traded away when more options appear. Name the constraint that never changed: time, attention, shared understanding, and name who is carrying that cost. Name the difference between a choice that enlarges agency and a choice that transfers risk. And notice the stories systems teach: that every outcome is a personal selection, that regret is a private failure, that clarity is childish, and endless evaluation is maturity. Reflection is a practice, not a belief. Freedom is not measured by the size of the menu, but by whether the menu respects a human life. Responsibility can be shared without being thrown.